That's it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ram Prakash. That was some very helpful information, and we really appreciate you for taking the time out of your day to come here and tell us more about Georgia Tech and, I guess, different methods for applicants to, find their path into the college. Next, we have Ms. Jenny Kim from Aim High Academy outlining an ideal SAT plan.
Okay, well.
If you want a screen share, you can take over from now.
Okay. All right, well, thank you so much for having me. Is this loud enough? Can you guys hear me okay? Okay,
yes,
let me go ahead and share my screen. Very exciting to see. I can see some familiar faces. So the presentation from the college students and high school students, that was very nice. Let me go ahead and share my screen, if I can do this right. Share my screen. There. So steadily. Okay, now I can do. All right. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some practical things. I can see some students and maybe some parents. So I'm going to talk about the post-COVID-19 facts and ideal SAT plans. I know many of the high school students and parents are anxious to hear about, so what do I do? If you're a 10th grader, 9th grader, and juniors in high school, if you're a parent, you probably are anxious to find out, so so it's great to hear all the college students, their college life, what they learn. I think that's fantastic. But then for students, high school students, I think what it really matters is, how do I really prepare? How do you really prepare from now on if you're 9th and 10th and 11th graders? So we're going to talk about some practical, something that's really helpful for you, something that you can really apply. I'm going to quickly talk about some up-to-date information about what's going on after COVID. I know previous college students talked about some facts, so I'm going to quickly just go over about the early admission, just the numbers. So what are the stats? So if you look at the March update, as you know, the SAT, ACT is optional. It's not as mandatory, but that doesn't mean that you don't have to. You're not going to do the SAT. You will still have to, because the optional means that you'll still need the score, right? So if you look at the right-hand side, it says the post-COVID, so this year, 2021, the early admission acceptance rate actually has decreased. And I'm going to move on to some of the colleges that a lot of you guys are interested in. So University of Georgia, I know some previous student presenter talked about the life of a UGA. I know many of you guys are interested in UGA. So let's just go ahead and look at the stat real quick. Before COVID, just take a look at the number that they were looking for. Let's take a look at the 2021 early action. So I can see that 2020, the ACT scores and SAT scores, pretty much the same. So I'm going to move on to different colleges. As you know, Georgia Tech, many of you guys are interested in going into Georgia Tech. So here are some quick facts. This is something that you can easily find on their admission website. You guys are probably wanting to find out about, so what do I need to get? What kind of SAT, ACT do I still need to submit? Because it says optional. So as you can see on the right-hand side, 2020 COVID, after COVID. So these are the numbers that we're still looking for, 29 to 34. As you know, between SAT and ACT, Georgia Tech accept either, whatever the highest score that you have. So this is some number that you can see for the Emory University. Okay, so as you know, ACT is out of 36, SAT is out of 1600. Like many of the presenter mentioned before, this is not everything. SAT, ACT, however, it's still an important factor by the time you apply to college. So I'm gonna skip some of these and go right into, I think there's one more person behind me. So I'm gonna go right into and give you guys some really helpful, some practical things that you can apply if you're a high school student. So the most important criteria, of course, it's a GPA. It's, as an academic standpoint, GPA does matter. I think that's the number one priority. SAT, ACT does matter, even though it's optional. And number three, I think it's an AP, as well as extracurricular activities. I think it's more, colleges are looking more about who you are, they're interested in. So what are you different from others? What unique things do you have? So I think those are really, really important. So I don't know if anybody have touched or talked about this before. Many of the students do ask me about, is there a penalty for taking the test multiple times? So as you know, the answer is no, there is no penalty for taking multiple times. I want to show you a quick what the SAT is looking for. So as you know, for both SAT and ACT, the answer to the previous one was no penalty. So you can take as many times you want. Of course, if you take 10 times, that's too tiring. So you want to plan yourself and think about, do I like SAT and ACT? And then I'm going to show you later on how to plan those things. So just to give you a quick super score policy of the SAT. This is just a quick example chart. A student, for example, has tried four attempts. And as you can see, the highest verbal score that this student got was the fourth attempt in August 2018. The highest math that students got was the second attempt, so 750. Your super score becomes a 1450, as you can see at the very bottom, not 1420, because you're going to pick and choose the highest per subject. So that's how you count the super score. Let's look at ACT. So ACT is a super score also. So as you can see on this chart, so ACT, as you know, it's got 4 subjects. And out of the 4 subjects, you can pick and choose the highest per subject. So that is the super good news. There is another very, very exciting news about ACT. So starting this year, I believe in spring, so section retesting will be available. So this is after taking the full ACT. You can pick and choose sections that you want to take. So that's a very, very good opportunity for students. Another important thing, so section retesting, that's going to start soon. You can also do the super score. Now before I would say 2020, every college is accepting ACT, they were either accepting the super score or one single test. Now ACT has changed so that now you can take multiple times of ACT and send the super score to college. So now online testing, this was still a question mark. I think they were having a lot of technical issues. So in the future, but it's still a question mark. But number 1 and 2, retesting, section retesting will be available, is available, and super scoring is available. So these are the things that you want to definitely take advantage. Okay. So the big picture for high school students, you want to plan, prepare, finish SAT, ACT early. So you can definitely focus on school GPA, because GPA, your colleges will look at from 9th grade to first semester of a senior year of your GPA. So it matters. That's the most important. And that's something that you cannot escape from. So you want to definitely keep a good GPA. If you get the SAT, ACT out of the way, I think that you will earn a lot of free time. You can do push yourself to do more AP classes or more fun extracurricular activity, whatever passions that you have. So I think that is really, really important thing. So let's talk about some ideal stuff. So what is an ideal SAT, ACT planning? So this is something if you're in 10th graders, if you're a sophomore in high school right now, or if you're a parent of a 9th and 10th grader, so listen carefully. So what do I do first? So first, I think you need to find out where you stand. You need to know most students start taking the PSAT in 9th grade. Some students do take Duke TIP in 7th grade. So if you know your PSAT, that will help you know where you stand. So get your PSAT score from 9th or 10th grade. You want to deduct, you want to just to get an estimate idea of what does my PSAT score means. I would probably deduct about 100 points to convert that to ACT or SAT score, because as you know, PSAT is out of what? It's out of 1520, not 1600. So it's easier and a little shorter exam. So just to give you a ballpark idea, you want to maybe deduct 100 points from PSAT score, and then you want to convert that to SAT or ACT. So this is just a conversion chart. You can easily find this in Google. So after converting, number 3 is count the total number of AP classes. So you want to I want to give you some example from my students. So you want to, so this is just an example of what students have taken 9, 10, 11 in the senior years. Everybody's different. Like some college students have mentioned before, this is not everything, but you also want to consider the way that college will look at the AP. It's very important. So the way that they will look at the AP is what is the maximum number of AP classes that your high school offers, and from there, how many did you take? So that's why it's important to, you want to push yourself to, of course, if it's not, you know, your areas of your interest, you don't want to, like if your areas of interest is computer science and you took a bunch of something that's not related to it, and that's something that I don't recommend. But at the same time, because number matters. So if you want to, you know, push yourself to take more AP classes in the upcoming year, that will be very possible if you finish your SAT, ACT early. So this is just a typical, my students, some of my students have taken before. Okay, so that you can kind of, if you're 10th grade right now, and if you have taken human, world, computer science, principal, and bio, whatever, so that's like 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you're at like number 4 or 5, that's good. But again, depends on what kind of school you are in. If you're in a big public school like Southwoodside or Lambert, they have a massive number of AP classes. So you don't want to take, if the total number of AP courses that your school offers is like 16 and you take 5, that doesn't look very good. Colleges will look at, all right, so what kind of a rigor did you take? So that's why, but versus a school where, let's say you go to a small private school and there is only 200 or maybe 100 kids in your grade, and the maximum number of AP classes that your school offers is maybe 10, and you took 10 out of 10, that's 100%. So that's how you want to look at it. So, but the bottom line, you want to try to take, you know, most number of AP classes. So that kind of gives you an idea of, okay, how many can I take? How many have I taken so far? And next year, if I finish my SAT early, that's going to give me some time and energy to take more AP classes. So that's something to consider about. We're going to talk about a typical plan, a typical year plan that a 9th or a 10th grader should do. So right now we're in 2021. As you can see on this chart, the very far left, it says number 2, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10, 12. That is a month of ACT that is given in a year. So it's given 7 times, as well as SAT. SAT is given in a March, May, June, August, and so forth in the fall season. So that's the month that you want to consider. So this is a year base. So like I said, since there's no penalty for taking SAT, ACT multiple times, but that doesn't mean you're going to take all of this 7 times a SAT, ACT. That's 14 times, and you literally don't have time and energy to take all of this. So you want to plan out and think about, okay, where am I standing right now? And then how can I benchmark? So that's the plan. So we are now in 2021 March already. We're going into April. So let's say, for example, this is an example, guys. So just refer to, I want you to just look at and think about your own PSAT score. So let's say your PSAT is about 1280. If you convert it to ACT, that is approximately 24 to 25. So if I were a 10th grader right now, so I know that in May, there's always AP exams and lots of finals. So season is pretty busy. If you haven't prepared zero SAT, ACT so far, then I wouldn't, stress out so much about giving the April and May exam. So maybe summer, look for opportunity in summer. So everybody's opportunity, their plan is different, but this is for someone who hasn't tried any, or hasn't prepared any SAT, ACT until now. Then you want to definitely maximize the summertime. So June and July, you want to definitely take a full preparations for SAT and ACT. And then guess what? After summer, you're going to be the next grade. You're going to be junior, right? So I would, for the 10th graders, when you become junior, you're actually going to be, so most juniors, you'll take a lot of, the most number of AP classes. So you actually do get very busy. However, when are you going to take SAT and ACT? So you want to start taking the first SAT in August if you haven't tried yet. And so I would maybe give it a try and have a benchmark, right? Some kind of benchmark score. Okay, I'm gonna maybe try my best during the summertime, and I'm gonna have a benchmark score from maybe, let's see if I can break maybe 1400 by August. Of course, if you break over 1500 in August, you're done. But most likely you do want to try a couple of times. So September, there is also September 1st is the ACT. Sorry, this is September. They didn't post the exam date for the September yet, but sometime in September there will be ACT. So take SAT in August, take another ACT in September, and compare between the two. You have to find your own preference. I think that's what's important. And have a benchmark score, right? After that, you want to compare depends on the 2 different exams. See what is your own preference. Which one can I do better, right? So if you have a better score in ACT, this is my typical students case. Most of my students have performed in better in ACT. Studying SAT definitely helps students to get a better score in ACT, so have that in mind. December, I would take, so if ACT is better, so if that's the case, then you want to take the second after taking the 2 different exams. Okay, I like ACT better. If that's the case, then you want to go with the ACT in December. You want to prepare and have another sort of a benchmark point by December. Okay, I'm going to try to break 32 to 33, of course. I'm going to go next year. So if you move on to 2022, you want to give it a try either April or February and be done with it. So I think that way you'll be very busy because 2022, you are in a second semester of junior year. Many of the students do start preparing SAT, ACT in end of 10th grade, and that's very busy. I mean, you can do it, but literally you have a lot of burden. You have 4 AP classes, 5 AP classes. On top of that, you have SAT and ACT. So think about that. And so that's something that you want to consider. So the ultimate planning is to prepare early, and be done with the SAT, ACT early so you can do, more AP class and more fun activities. So if you're lucky and get done, your SAT, ACT done in a second semester of a junior year, which I actually encourage my students to finish early in 10th grade. But anyway, lots of different scenarios to come up with. And so if this is the case, then you can do in summer, definitely want to try to do something fun. You want to intern, volunteer works, some activities is something that you are really passionate with. And that's something to really, boost your profile that shows who you are. So that's going to be very, very valuable, as many of the presenters mentioned it before. And you become senior on that August next year. And then early action begins in October all the time. Okay. And so you want to definitely give it a try for the early action. I know some presenter talked about what is the difference between early action, early decision. Okay, so I hope you guys understand that. So I want to try. I definitely encourage all the students to give it a try for the early action. Big reason being is that so you have a peace of mind. So if you get denied or if you didn't get exception at the early pool, your admission automatically goes to the regular pool. So you have a peace of mind. So I wouldn't worry about, I didn't get in for the early, but you just want to wait for the regular. So regular begins don't wait until the regular season, right? So regular admission, as you know, begins in, every school is a little different. It's from January to March. So that's the season. And then that's when you apply and you graduate, right? So I want you to, I think knowing when ACT is given and when SAT is given, which exam do I need to take, and the important fact that I mentioned many times is that since there is no penalty, you want to take advantage of that and plan yourself and benchmark each time so that you can finish early. Preparing early and finishing early is the key for high school students. So that's all my message. So let me know if anybody needs help on consulting or planning or help with the SAT. I'll be here. So thank you for the time today, Gats, and I'm going to give it to you, Kritika. Is it going to be the Ram?
Yeah, it's me. Yeah. So that was great, Ms. Jenny. Thank you for insight and detailed process regarding the key points of standardized tests and what high school students must prioritize. And we at GAS appreciate you taking